Hello and welcome to another episode of Carnegie Defense Insights. I'm Dinakar Peri, your host for today, and we'll quickly see what we have on the menu today. So, the key defense developments in the last 3 weeks. So, they are on your screen right now. If you see, we'll talk about the technology perspective and capability roadmap, the Defense Procurement Manual, both of which were released recently, the important documents which guide military modernization and procurement. And then in terms of developments, the MiG-21s, the iconic MiG-21 fighter jets are going to be phased out next week. And we also have the light combat aircraft in a crucial trial phase. And then are we going to buy more Rafales? We'll talk about it. And then yesterday and day before yesterday, in the last 2 days, China has made showcased some major accomplishments in terms of carrier aviation, which is aircraft carrier aviation. So let's get into the details. Firstly, the TPCR 2025. So the technology perspective and capability roadmap, as it's called, it's a 15-year vision document which states what all capabilities the Indian Armed Forces would want to acquire for the next 15 years in terms of as part of their military modernization. So a part of the document is unclassified, typically, for the industry to kind of understand what the armed forces want, so that they can pitch in, prepare for both for R&D, for development, for manufacturing, for supply, etc. across the chain. And especially, it's important, especially as we want more and more domestic private industry in the defense and manufacturing ecosystem. So this is the third iteration of this, the TPCR. The first one was given out in 2013. It was further revised a bit in 2018. So this one, in fact, 2025 is also important because there's some parts of actually they put out on a joint demands or requirements, 3 services. So it's in 2 parts. But let me just see what the key highlights of them. This kind of flows or is a long-term this thing to the what is called the Integrated Capability Development Roadmap, which is a 10-year plan, which is prepared by the Integrated Defense Staff. That's one, and there are also a 5-year plans, which form the capability roadmap for the 10-year plan. So these 3 kind of in layers put out how the military modernization is proceeding. And that's it. Let's look at some of the few top ones. And in fact, this edition or this document of released 2 weeks back lists a lot of emphasis on futuristic technologies, especially coming after Opsendor and the global developments where drones, counter drones, satellite communications, ISR, intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, and so on and so forth have become critical, not just enablers, they are the future of the battlefield. And there are no more technologies of the future. The technologies today. Opsendor was yesterday, it's already done. So we are in that day and age of those. The technologies are already here. So if you just take a quick look at the screen. So I just flagged a few examples for you to get a sense of what kind of technologies the armed forces are looking at. For example, they want more MALE and HALE drones. MALE is called medium altitude, long endurance. Similarly, HALE is high altitude, long endurance. So they can be in the air for 24 hours, 36 hours and more. And they're also pseudo-satellites. So essentially they are floating somewhere just in the stratosphere for several weeks, if not more, and keep relaying communications, tap into enemy communication, and keep an eye out, do ISR, electronic surveillance, etc., etc. So, for example, the HALE, the requirement says, with a range of 1,500 kilometers, up to an altitude of 50 to 60,000 feet. Similarly, the pseudo-satellites, they wanted 60,000 feet. These are, key technologies which are going to define the future battle space. And there are many more such things. Apart from the conventional systems, for example, upgrading the infantry combat systems, more tanks, etc., etc. They're on there. We'll move on to the next one. So let's look at the Defense Procurement Manual. There are 2 kinds of budgeting has 2 parts, revenue and capital. So capital procurement is essentially new procurements, new platforms, new systems. What we typically talk of, the big fighter jets, ships, etc. They are guided by the Defense Acquisition Procedure, a document called DAP, Previously, it was called the Defense Procurement Procedure. So that's carried by, that's for the capital procurement. Similarly, the revenue budget, which is essentially repeat out of spares, supplies, components, ammunition, maintenance, and so on and so forth. They are all guided by the DPM. The DPM was just released last week by the Defense Minister, and this kind of lays out a series of steps to simplify, maintenance of platforms and something add-ons what required for your systems already existing in the inventory of the armed forces. In fact, as you see on the screen, for this financial year, so revenue budget is about 1 lakh crore in rupees, and